Welcome to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller, the podcast. I'm joined by Seth.
Hey, welcome, guys. Thanks for finding us on the internet.
Now, these shows originally aired on Brookings Radio, but now they're all here for your enjoyment. I hope you like it.
There you go. Sit back, enjoy the show, relax. Let us know if you want to see anything on future shows. As we said, this comes out live in the Brookings area, but enjoy this archive episode.
Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. Welcome to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. This week, spring beers and a couple of pretty cool spring events. Traditionally, My Box, Doppelbock, Saisons have been spring beers. These days, it's kind of all over the place with those styles still around, but joined by a mishmash of others. Some of the top-rated stouts, for example, released in the spring, as well as rye beers, seasonal IPAs, session beers, and more.
I think we're all thankful that we can actually have this conversation. Spring beers, you usually come out of hibernation. You usually get away from the really big, dark, and alcohol-rich beers. There's different varieties of spring beers as you travel throughout the world. But I think most popularly has come things that you associated with spring. Like you said, fresh, grassy notes or fruit or things from the garden.
Seth Koch there from Wooden Legs Brewing of Brookings. Also happy to see Spring, Brennan, Sully, Sullivan at Pints and Quarts.
I usually look at it kind of right around St. Patrick's Day as being the turning point. Some decent stouts come out, but then, you get some good lagers. And a lot of these beers are actually getting made year-round now, but I think they just gain a little bit more popularity this time of year. Kind of like, I love to change the season from hunting to fishing. Well, I like the summer beers too, so, Then again, when you talk to me in October, I'm like, this is my favorite beer time of the year, and then when it's time for all the big winter beers that come out.
A recent trend seems to be releasing rye beers in late winter and early spring.
We've debated doing a rye beer. We just haven't yet, and it's funny that you bring it up because it was literally debated about a week ago. And I don't know if that's by chance or what, but by coincidence. So those are. I like rye beers. That has a distinctly drying, and a rye has a good flavor for people that like rye whiskeys. They can get into rye beers pretty easily. I'm a big fan of like the saisons and the farmhouse styles, and some of those
another popular spring release,
brighter beers, and of course the IPA, the floral IPAs are always wildly popular.
Pints and Quarts has a new springtime brew for you to try as their Mike Tap Handle Beer of the Week.
Curious Traveler Lemon Shandy, made by an offshoot of the Boston Beer Company, Sam Adams. If you like things like Line of Kluge Slumber Shandy or whatnot, it's got a little bit more backbone to it, a little bit maltier. Tastes a little bit more like beer, but they use a lot more real lemon, I believe. I think their brewing processes are a little bit better than some of the other shandy-making beer companies.
Brookings Liquor Store Beer Guide, Drew Eklund says they've got lots of great beers for spring, including a really good one from Bank Brewing of Hendricks.
Their Hop Lab Blue American IPA. It's $9.99 for the 750. This is the second batch of Hop Lab and differs from the first, which had a green label. The green label featured a blend of Citra, Simcoe, and Amarillo hops. The new blue label showcases a single Citra-hopped IPA. I would go into further detail, but everyone will be able to try this for themselves on Friday, April 10th, here at the liquor store from 5 to 7 p.m. Bank's head brewer Richard will be here to hand out an assortment of different beer samples and answer any Bank Brewing related questions.
So don't miss the Bank Brewing tasting Friday the 10th, 5 to 7 p.m. at Brookings Liquor Store. Coming up on Beer Untapped, we'll tell you about a couple more cool spring events, including another one featuring Bank Brewing.
The blossoms on the trees stir up the honeybee. Spring makes life feel right. Spring fever.
Spring fever. Spring is here at last.
Welcome back to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. We've got a couple of events to tell you about. Coming this Saturday to Wooden Legs, a pretty special concert.
A really cool musical event down here. We're going to have Rachel Price play live here at the pub for a 3-hour show. For those not familiar with Rachel Price, she's from Nebraska. She came to SDSU for 2 years and was discovered on YouTube. Did a really popular YouTube channel and was picked up, and I believe she's living in Nashville now. She's recording her album. This is one of her stops on her tour, and I think after Brookings she leaves for Florida for about 6 or 7 stops. So we're really happy to have her. It's going to be no cover. I know she was excited to come back to Brookings because this is kind of where she found her wings and was plucked from by the people that discovered her. So it's going to be a great show, all ages. Of course, no cover.
Be sure to check that out. Rachel Price this Saturday night at Wooden Legs. Then, a week from Saturday, April 18th, a craft beer festival and chili cook-off fundraiser in Hendricks, Minnesota. Our old friend Brad DeBeer serving as spokesman for that event.
It's the first annual chili cook-off and craft beer festival. Now, we call it a cook-off, but it's probably more of a chili tasting than anything. We are going to have a People's Choice Award for that, so we look forward to getting some people out. I think we've got about 15 different chili teams right now that are ready to be a part of this. And then we've got 3 different breweries that are going to be there with actual brews that they have, plus another one out of Sioux Falls, a new one that really hasn't even opened the doors yet, Wood Grain Brewing. They're going to be coming up with some sodas.
Brad says there'll be plenty of beers to try from the 3 Minnesota breweries.
Bank Brewing Company right there in Hendricks. Of course, Brow Brothers Brewing out of Marshall, Minnesota will be there. And then Take 16. So they're all going to be there. They're going to have a lot of their different brews available. And I believe the Bank Brewing Company has a brand new one that they're ready to unveil, basically. And they're going to kind of do it that day as well. So I don't want to let the cat out of the bag on that. But we invite people to come out for that. And then afterwards, we invite you to come down to Bank Brewery. They're going to have live music. Actually, Phil Carlson from right here in town, he will be there with his partner that they play together in a lot of different places.
It's 2 to 5 the afternoon of the 18th. You can try all the beer and chili you want for one price. Money raised during this event goes towards Hendricks campground improvements.
We're looking at putting some of those new kind of cabins with the bunk beds and that kind of stuff into an area that's at our campground that just kind of sits there and doesn't get used right now. So hopefully, we can raise a little money from this event and put it toward that and just improve it, because you go through that town in the summer and there really isn't a weekend that it isn't at least 75% full, and there are many weekends where it's completely full.
For ticket info or other details, go to hendricksmn.com. That's it for this week's edition of Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. Next week, guilty pleasures. Yeah, those beers you enjoy but don't tell anybody about. Lots to do and taste as spring takes over. Remember, drink local and drink responsibly. Thank you for listening to this archived edition of Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. Feel free to listen to other episodes, and if there's anything you'd like us to talk about on a future show, please let us know. Thanks again.